to the Nerdiverse. Go ahead, sit and listen to the masters, the old heads, talk about what you love the most. Video games, comics, movies, and everything you need to maintain. We got the knowledge that's straight out the ether. Gonna need a drink and how to take a seat to expand your mind and listen to the speaker. Mike and the squad's gonna give you what you need. Please send in a question, come and get some answers, learn a couple lessons from the masters with the special guests. We got the Green Lanterns glowing on their chest. Yes, please sit back and relax, cause we're gonna hit you with them stone cold facts. And allow me to be the very first to welcome you to the masters of the Nerdiverse. Welcome to Masters of the Nerdiverse, where we always have such sights to show you. This penal colony of a podcast can be found on iTunes, Stitcher, Spreaker, SoundCloud, YouTube, iHeartRadio, and Google Play. I'm, of course, your host, Mike G. And with me, as always, is my clever host with the most, Winter Trash Monk III.
Howdy, everybody. How's it going? It is Winter Trash Monk III. That's Winter Trash Monk. I. That's Trash Monk. I.
Yep.
And it is 7:54 here up in the mountain of, I won't tell you. I am here, as always, ready to go. Already finished my beer. I don't have a problem, but I'm going to my Diet Coke.
Ain't nothing wrong with that, man. So I hear at midnight in the mountains that they're telltales of the Sasquatch.
Yes.
You can see him if the moonlight hits him a certain way. Is this true, Winter?
Yes. I'm literally what the song Fire on the Mountain is all about.
Yeah, man. That makes me think of that.
I don't know what the lyrics are.
You ever seen that movie Fire in the Sky?
I'm pretty sure
Where
I
it's
have.
about the alien abduction and it's played super straight. And it's like the creepiest thing you've ever seen in your life. Hey, kids.
Okay, hold on. Those things aren't supposed to be in a sentence. Alien abduction and playing it straight.
No, they play it as straight as possible. Like, this is what happened to this man who got abducted in the mountains by aliens. Oh,
okay. I see what you're saying.
And it's the most graphic depiction of an alien abduction I've ever seen. It's just this terrifying look on what they do to people.
Yeah. Speaking of movies, I want to see that Finding Neverland or Leaving Neverland.
Oh, you mean with
documentary?
Oh, I heard some stuff about that. Like the family, the trust of Michael Jackson is all mad at HBO.
Tell me your TMZ gossip.
I have no TMZ gossip.
Hollywood man.
Mr. Hollywood.
Mr. LA man.
I might have glasses in the shape of dollar signs, and I just wear a solid gold suit. Oh no, it's just the family of Michael Jackson pretty much say, yeah, you can do this story, but don't paint him in a negative light. And this was like years ago.
Oh yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, for people who are new to that, what would you expect from this from the family? This, I mean, because if the documentary is not going to paint him in a positive light, then it's going to touch on, you know, his touching. Look, that went on.
We've already had a positive Michael Jackson biography, and it was called Michael Jackson Moonwalker. Okay,
yes,
which is all
now
we ever
time
need.
You're right. Now it's time for the real deal to come out, or at least a closer to accurate depiction. And this led me down the rabbit hole of watching YouTube videos of Michael Jackson. And there's one detailing about how in Florida, one of his friends rented out this entire department store or grocery store so that he can pretend that he's shopping like in a real person's life.
Yeah.
Like he can go down the aisle. And what they did was they hired some of his cousins and some of his friends to, what is it? Oh, be like people working on the, be working at the department store. So he's just walking by and there's people going, Good morning, Mr. Jackson. Good morning. And meanwhile, there's Michael Jackson music, elevator style music playing over the loudspeaker.
Really?
It's bizarre. Yes.
Can you imagine being that like pulled out of reality to where you have to make fall reality for yourself and hire hundreds of people.
Well, but that's the thing, because it's like it's faux reality, but then it's also not, because what reality is it where he would be going to a department store and they just so happen to play only his music on the
that's what I'm
loudspeaker?
saying. It's this weird Black Hole Sun level of distorted reality that he's painted for himself.
Right. I think there's a Twilight Zone episode in there, or a script,
or a Black Mirror episode, but except for Michael Jackson, it's robots.
Yes, so we don't get sued.
You want to get sued? Nah, man. I'm sure there's someone listening to this podcast who's never actually watched Michael Jackson Moonwalker. Do me a favor, watch Michael Jackson Moonwalker. Michael Jackson turns into a giant mecha. It's out of control. You may think I'm BSing, but no. And Joe Pesci shoots spiders out of his hands. It's out of control. No. Frankie Ladeo. Guys don't remember. None of you do.
But how was your week?
I could do my week first, I guess. My week was nothing. I literally did nothing. Nothing. Not much, just a lot of work. A lot of dungeons. Well, that's a Freudian slip. Dungeons and Dragons. Thought and talk last week, which has kind of been on my brain since I've kind of fallen down this new rabbit hole, to where I'm more excited about that than I am Devil May Cry 5, which is weird.
Good.
Right? It's kind of weird. So I'm very excited about that. I can't get it out of my brain. So I've just been toying with that. Haven't really played much video games, honestly, because I'm just waiting for DMC 5. So there's nothing really kind of pulling me. I've been playing a little bit more Resident Evil 2 Remake, which is always a blast. I think I watched a movie. I watched Pet Sematary again, the original, which is always fun and depressing and disturbing, because they literally show a shot of Gabe, who is the titular Pet Sematary baby being set on fire.
Yeah,
and you can't film that anymore. It's out of control. So, yeah.
Okay. So let me tag on to that. And this could be a nice flow to my week.
Go for it, man. I'm done.
Okay. So I was listening to a podcast brought to you by Old Spice. I'll mute that. And they talked about how something about the Farrelly brothers. Apparently, there's something in the news about one of them. I can't recall, but we're moving on from that. They talked about two of their movies, about how they made jokes that you can't necessarily make nowadays. The first one was in the movie Dumb and Dumber. I love that movie, but there's a particular scene that is where the joke is in a sexual assault, apparently, that I never caught as a kid watching it.
Of course not, because you weren't aware of it.
Yeah. Do you know the scene that I'm talking about? Where?
Yeah, it's where Lloyd and what's his face are laying together and they're talking.
No, I'm
kick his ass, Seabass.
I'm thinking of like Jeff Daniels is in the bathroom. And then he sees on the wall, like, for a good time, be at this spot at blah, 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 blah. Yeah. And it just happens to be that time. And it just happens to be Seabass. And,
wow.
Yeah, the joke is like, oh, they're about to, do it in a bathroom sort of thing. So I'm like, oh, that's kind of weird. How'd I miss that? The next clip was of another Farrelly Brothers movie. Again, I don't know why they keep bringing him up. I don't know what the news is right now about him. But it's a scene of Kingpin where what is it? Woody Allen, Woody Harrelson
right.
came out, and he has a picture that we believe to have milk, and he has a milk mustache on. Do you know this scene?
I've only seen Kingpin like once or twice, so I'm not extremely familiar.
Well, this is the joke, and again, I don't necessarily. I don't know how they got it through, but different times. I guess comedies can still do it. But he has a picture of what we are to believe to be milk, and he has a milk stash, and he drinks out of it, and he goes, "I've sorry I was late. I was busy milking the cow." And then the joke is the Amish people go, "We don't have any female cows. We only have the bull."
that reminds me of I don't think it's a Fairley Brothers movie, but American Pie, where Stifler's drinking the pale ale.
Yeah.
Out of control, yes. Dude.
It's just weird. It's just like that. Like, let me look up the rating for Kingpin real quick. I think
why you do that?
Yeah,
it's just funny how non-future proofed a bunch of comedies in the 70s, 80s, and 90s, and even the 2000s are to this climate. Like I was watching Once Bitten with Jim Carrey, one of his first movies, where he gets seduced by a cougar vampire. Pretty much
PG-13.
Children were watching that scene, my man. Isn't that crazy? And they do a homophobic joke in the middle of the film that would never fly nowadays.
Well, I don't know if it's homophobic. I'm just saying you're having a certain fluid joke in a PG-13 movie.
I mean, look at Something About Mary. Wasn't that PG-13 or was that R?
I'm gonna go. That's R. I would remember watching that if I
remember Something About Mary being like a hard PG-13, but I could be wrong.
But Chris Elliott was in it, so they gave
Chris Elliott. Chris Elliott is actually a horrible human being in retrospect, but he's in some of my favorite movies of all time.
Hold on.
Yeah.
Let's go down memory lane of what did Chris Elliott do to you?
He didn't do anything to me. He made Cabin Boy, and I love Cabin Boy.
Yeah,
but I was doing some reading. I found he was like a staunch racist or something like that, like unapologetic. What? Yeah,
I found this out like. Wait, what did you say? Staunch racist?
Yeah, like unapologetically racist. And I don't want to slander the guy, but that's what I read. I read this like in 2000 something, and I was like, "Oh no, please no." I like Chris Elliott. He's funny. It's like Michael Richards. It's like, oh, I can't laugh at him anymore because you're a creep.
Wow. Because this is a hot take coming from you over here. I don't.
Oh, look into it, man. It's a trip, and that makes me think. Like, I don't want to get off on a tangent, but how far does it go to separate the person from the project?
Yeah,
like when I was growing, like my favorite movie of all time was The Usual Suspects, and there's all types of creeps rubbed around that movie. And then Kevin Spacey got put to light, and then Bryan Singer got put to light, and it's like I can't like that movie anymore, even though I love everything about it. I love its writing, I love the premise, I love the plot twist, I love everything, but it's tainted, right?
Yeah. If you find evidence for Mike G's Chris Elliott take, please send it my way, because I can't find anything of it. But I find Chris Elliott to be an inspiration of mine, and it would I love Eagleheart and Get a Life.
Okay,
and
I just
maybe I had a crush on his daughter.
The fuck? Okay,
Abby Elliott,
fight me. No, man, I don't want to destroy your dreams. I'm just saying what I heard. What I read in a book.
Well, I think we're going to have to cancel the show.
Dang, and this is the last episode of Masters of the Nerdiverse podcast.
I hope you're happy.
You know what? We had a good run. This makes me hate Chris Elliott even more now because he's destroyed my dreams.
Wait. I'm saying the show's strong.
He's destroyed my dreams and stuff. He shattered a beautiful tapestry. Other than watch Chris Elliott movies, what did you do with your week, man?
Nothing else, man. Just keep on trucking. Let's just get to the news.
Yeah, man.
Okay,
I'm gonna use my strong.
We're at 17 minutes.
I'm gonna use my strong hand and get to the news. Let's see. Dun, 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 dun. Boop, 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 boop. I need an auto tune, like one of those those T-Pain auto tunes. So when I say the news, I can be like the news, something. I don't know. I can't. Some people, some people can manually auto tune their voice, and it sounds just like it.
Yeah.
Out of control.
Time to turn the. Here we go. Time to turn the page and get some news hitting you across the head. It's time for MOTN news. Dun, 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 dun.
See, this is why we pay Winter the big bucks, man.
Yeah.
You know.
Don't turn the dial. It's MOTN news.
You better be listening. If you're not, you better be dead or in jail.
Yeah.
And if you're in jail,
don't touch that dial.
Break out.
Or my favorite part of classic rock stations. Hey, this is Alice Cooper. You're listening to MOTN News.
No.
Hey, this is Joe Walsh.
Hey, this is D Wallace. Anytime I'm on another station, that's that fake industry stuff. I do the real deal with MOTN News.
Yeah.
Oh man.
You're listening to the best sound in town. It's George Harrison at MOTN News.
Do you have a good Leonard Skinner? I've never heard them talk.
Leonard Skinner's a
I
band.
know.
I don't know.
Can you do all of them? Can you do the whole sound?
No.
Can you just,
unless we have some lag that I can just get some fade.
Get some fading in there. Get some.
Yeah.
Can you just do Aerosmith? Speaking of things getting done, let's get into this news. Apparently, the Sci-Fi Channel has been secretly producing and creating a new Critters movie. You remember Critters? Do you know what I'm talking about?
Remember
Critters, dude? Critters was the coolest. Starring original star from the first Critters, I think, Dee Wallace. She was also in a bunch of horror movies back in the day, like The Howling, which was directed by the same director who did the original. No, that was Gremlins. I was thinking of Joe Dante. But Critters, dude. Critters was the coolest, man. So for people who don't know what a critter is, there's a time in Hollywood where small monsters were really big. You know, that's funny to say, but you had things Gremlins,
Toy
Soldiers, Puppet Masters,
Danny DeVito
films, the Ghoulies, man. Remember the Ghoulies, dog?
Yeah. Garbage Pail Kids.
So Garbage Pail Kids movie is horrific. Don't watch it. But the Critters were these little. I'm super gonna watch it. Were these little kind of balls of terror that had little mouths and little red eyes, and they partied and stuff like that. Like the Critters would get drunk at somebody's house and then like do a keg stand and then turn into a ball and like shoot like porcupine. They're like evil porcupines, but from space. And they were real smart, but just wanted to party. They're like Gremlins in that regard. There are a ton of sequels. There was one sequel where all the Gremlins, all the critters got together into a ball and turned into a super critter. And it just started running people down the street like Attack of the Killer Tomatoes. The Critters rule. So this is the last film franchise I thought would make a revival in 2019. You know what I mean? Because it's all practical effects. It's all puppets and stuff. Nobody does that anymore, you know?
Or do you think they're going to do it for this one?
I hope it's not CG, even though it probably will because it's cheaper. But I hope there is some puppetry in animatronics to it.
It is a sci-fi, or it's going to be a sci-fi movie.
So it's probably all CG. It's probably all CG, dude. That Ultra sucks, man.
Right. Like, it's going to be like a Supergirl level.
Yeah.
CG.
It's going to be like Arctic spiders CG, like Sharknado levels. Yeah. Not one.
Which, if they lean into it, like they have such a gem with Sharknado that they're no longer doing, I guess. That unless they do back in the West, they do a Sharknado West.
Yeah, man.
Video. Hey guys, I'm still right. If you sponsor me, I'll write that script.
We'll do it right now. We'll write. I will hawk Sci-Fi Channel all day.
Instead of a Sharknado, it's a Shark Stampede.
Stampede.
Okay.
Stampede. Get out the way.
Or a Shark Twister. I'm saying I'm open to ideas. I only request $50 to work on the script.
That's all they got, dude.
Okay.
That's all they got towards it, dog. But yes, yeah.
But yeah, I have nothing.
Same
else
here. The critters have run their course and remain awesome.
Yeah.
And if you want a fun night with your buddies, watch Critters 1. It's really a trippy old movie, and it still stands up because guess what? Puppetry and animatronics will always look good. Always. Even Carnosaur. I would never shut up about Carnosaur. Speaking of someone who would love puppetry and animatronics, apparently Guillermo del Toro is going to direct a Bad Robot film, which is kind of cool. Which we have no idea what it is and what it's. The code name for the movie is called Zan Bato, which sounds super stupid, and I love it.
Yeah,
because Guillermo, I don't know why Guillermo wins an Academy Award, right? And he hasn't done anything since, like, or he's just.
Well, don't forget the Netflix thing.
Oh, right. What was that again? I don't remember. I know it's something.
Scary stories to tell your children.
Is he directing any of those, or is he like producing?
I think he's producing, but
how that works.
Works out.
Just how like Steven Spielberg produced Poltergeist, like he didn't direct it. Rest in peace, Toby Hooper.
No.
Rest in peace, Toby Hooper.
There are some people who do point to that being true, but I think the truth is there's Steven Spielberg did a lot more than what is led to believe, but Toby Hooper still did
bulk.
Some major stuff. Still did a major bunch of it.
Yeah,
I don't know.
People still debate it to this day. Like
yes.
How much of Poltergeist.
Just like we debate whether Chris Elliott is, a Nazi or not.
Wow.
That's something we do.
You're not going to let me live that down for a while, aren't you, Winner?
No, I am hyped up on an energy drink that I had before the beer. So now it is on
Remember,
fire.
You ever watched the Drew Carey show? And he had Buzz Beer? You're on Buzz Beer right now, dude. You're freaking out. I'm going to let this rock and see where it goes.
All the little chicks with their crimson lips singing Cleveland
Rocks.
Cleveland Rocks. Back
you know
to
what?
you, Mike.
That's a good segue. Speaking of things that are going to have lips of crimson, because people are going to be spitting out blood when this movie comes out. They dropped a trailer for X-Men Dark Phoenix, which they're not calling X-Men Dark Phoenix. They're just calling it Dark Phoenix, which is dumb. Because no one's going to know what that is. That's already stupid. But they dropped the trailer, which drops the biggest spoiler I haven't seen in a trailer since Terminator Genesis. It's like this, and I don't even want to say the spoiler because it's so big. It's so dumb. It's
Iron Man appears.
Guess what? Iron Man died. Spoilers. But no, and then the worst part is that the showrunner, Simon Kinberg, steps out in front and explains the trailer. Because people are like, legit, why did you put that in your trailer? This is a big plot point and a turning point for the film. He's like, because we're going to show that we're not just any superhero movie. There are stakes to this, and there's consequences to actions. And I'm like, you are so full of shit. Pardon my friends. Why would you do that? Why would you handicap your film like that?
He's a maverick.
Wow.
Mike.
Maverick. Okay, that's the terminology. You know what? That's the best terminology for this guy. And it's what it is. It's the death throes of how bad Fox has always been with their films. It's the death throes. It's them.
He's going out on the Titanic. This is his Titanic, and it worked out for.
He is the captain of the ship, screaming at the moon as the ship sinks right now. And it's like, I would have wanted to go into Dark Phoenix not knowing what happened. I kind of wanted to not know how the movie was going to go, but now I do because I have to watch this stuff for the channel. And now I feel lesser for it because it's like the trailer just wrecked the movie for me. It sabotaged its own film. And a lot of people feel this way. And normally, I mean, being into comics and stuff, you kind of know how the ebb and flow goes with these kind of things, especially superhero movies. You know what I mean? If you've read the comic, you kind of know how they could go about it. They don't always go the way of the comic, but mostly they do. But this was unnecessary because this Dark Phoenix story has really nothing to do with the Dark Phoenix saga in X-Men. And just really quick, I just want to talk about like how weird it is to be an X-Men fan and be an older comic book fan. Because there's a generation of kids who never understand how hyped the X-Men were in the 90s. You know what I'm saying? Like there was a time in the 90s where the X-Men were the coolest things in the world. Like cooler than the Spider-Man, Avengers, all that was second fiddle to the X-Men. Do you remember that, Winter? Did that hit you when you were growing up by any chance?
No, I was busy playing with Transformers and
I was too. There was
G.I. Joe
and James Bond,
and James Bond
Jr.
By the way.
No, there was a time where the 90s cartoon came out in the X-Men animated series, and the X-Men just took over the Earth from like 92 to like 95 or 96, and it was all over the place. You went to Pizza Hut, you got X-Men #1, all that cool stuff. And then
my mom loves the series, and she was born in 1960. So that doesn't help your story.
Because X-Men are been around forever. X-Men rule, dude. And then Marvel told us not to like the X-Men anymore because they didn't own the property anymore and they didn't want to advertise it. So they kind of sandblasted the X-Men for 10 years until they got the rights back, and now they're asking us to get back on board. But you have things like Dark Phoenix and New Mutants like leaving horrible taste in people's mouths about the X-Men. It's kind of a bummer because there was a time in my life where you couldn't tell me anything about anything X-Men. It was all great. But that being said,
Now, do you think that that X-Men would do well in having what would you call it? The HBO treatment of, how they're doing Watchmen and they're bringing that as a miniseries or a TV show. Do you think X-Men could be a good
absolutely, because
TV show?
X-Men is so vast that you can tell almost any story in the X-Men universe and it work. Like after watching the Umbrella Academy on Netflix, check that out. My preferred method of superhero live action digestion now is the long form TV series. I prefer that over the movies now because you could get so much more deeper into the characters. You can build the stakes even more higher. There's a lot more room to wiggle than just 2 hours or 3 hours at a time. And with the X-Men, I would love if they would just do like an X-Force TV series or X Factor or Generation X. You know what I mean? There's tons of X-Men teams and storylines and characters that you can do anything with. You can have X-Men comedies. You can have X-Men dramas. That's how nutty it was in the 90s because they just kept expanding the team. It's not like it's Spider-Man. And Spider-Man is Spider-Man, right? But with the X-Men, there's like... And he does actually whatever Spider can. But just to wrap this up, the X-Men rule. Hopefully, in the next 2-3 years, we'll get a nice shining example of how cool they could be under the umbrella of Papa Mickey, and see how that works.
Yeah, that made me the way you said that kind of reminded me of PBS shows McLaughlin Group. Just to wrap this up, X-Men rules wrong. Next.
Oh man. I don't even know how to get into this next segment. So let's just get into it raw. Very breaking news.
Luke Perry
can't get more raw than that, dude. Rest in peace, Luke Perry. He was an icon for a while, for the 90s. I wasn't really a big 90210 guy. Wasn't. So I wasn't too familiar with his work. Of course, I liked him in Buffy the Vampire Slayer, which is one of my favorite kind of tongue-in-cheek horror films, but he didn't have a big role in that. Especially the one thing I do remember about Luke Perry is only the Simpsons episode where he was Sideshow Luke Perry and they shot him out of a cannon. And he crashed through the factory and he's like, my valuable face.
Well, I would recommend, if you're looking for a serious role of Luke Perry, I think his stint on Oz is perhaps one of my.
Right.
I like his character of like he's a pastor that happens
Right,
to be
I forgot about
Oz.
that. Yeah.
It's great, and I bet it shocked a lot of people.
I
to see him
totally
in that
forgot he
show.
had a stint on Oz for like a season, right? For like half a season.
Mm-hmm.
Dude,
That's why I'm
Oz
here,
was so
Mikey
cool and out of control, dude. Oz was rough. I remember watching it. I wasn't supposed to watch it as a kid. At ABC with his little hat.
Oz, I'm in a wheelchair.
You know,
yeah,
that show was that was a good show on HBO. That used to come on, like Spawn would come on, and then Oz would come on on HBO, dude.
It
super holds up,
folks. I watched it all again.
Yeah, man. Recently. What's his name? Reggie Cathy was in that show for a split second. I think that's the guy's name. Whatever. Reggie Cathy rules.
I don't know his name.
He was like a African American. Exactly. He was a what's the word I'm looking for? Character actor. Yeah.
Yeah, he was in later on in the season as the warden trying to warden also running Oz for a second, a little hard nose. Like
he has this crazy voice, and he was trying to give Oz a new look. Like I'm the serious. Things are going to shape up around here, kind of guy, and it didn't work out for him. Mm-hmm. But speaking of things that worked out just fine, as surprise to no one, Johnny Cage was announced in Mortal Kombat 11. You will not. You will stay awake because I'm going to filibuster this because I don't have much to say about it actually. Because it's Johnny Cage, man. You might as well announce that. Oh, the sun's going to come out tomorrow. You know, it's like, oh, okay. But he does have a really cool fatality that if you want, you can find online and check it out. But I'm not going to spoil it. But yeah, Mortal Kombat's on its way, and I don't own it yet, so that's a big problem. It's a major issue in my life. That's all I had to say. Johnny Cage is here. It looks clean. Well, you know, the game looks good. So, guys, get ready for more Mortal Kombat talk when that game eventually comes out. Let's see. Speaking of video games, the next generation of Pokemon games was announced on the Switch. Pokemon Sword and Shield was announced to be the Sword and Shield. It's all metal. But it looks really good, and it's a return to form for Pokemon, even though they made $1 billion with Pokemon Go for that split second. But it's a new Pokemon game on a console, and I don't think that's happened in a very, very, very long time. So this is actually kind of big for them in regards to kind of that kind of presence. Yeah. You know what I mean?
By the way, so the game follows this traditional trend of 3 starters. And here's the dumbest names of a Pokemon I ever even heard of. The grass type, Grookey. Fire type, Scorbunny.
Sobble.
And water type, Sobble. What is going on?
Okay, Winner,
Pokemon,
you have to understand. Folks? There's literally like 700 Pokemon at this point. The names are going to get dumber as the saturation thins out.
Just call him Mark.
Can you imagine? It's like this. It's this metallic score.
Grookey, Scorbunny, Mark.
Mark, let's go. Hey, Mark, you want to battle for me? Mark. Mark. Oh, he has a deep voice. Mark. But I have to ask you the question. What team, who's your starter, Winter?
My starter was always...
who's your starter,
Winter? I think I was...
That's the wrong answer.
I think?
You stole fizzy lifting drinks.
Positive energy. Get it.
Oh,
Shout
rest
out to
in
Brody
peace.
Stevens. Rest in peace.
The correct answer is Squirtle, first of all. Squirtle Squad all day. Squirtle Boys. Okay. But Squirtle. But I have to ask you, out of these new starters, who are you running with? Even though they have dumb names, who are you going? Score Bunny. See, I'm water type all the way, bro. I gotta go Sabo. It's a water lizard. I'm running. I gotta roll it. There's a chance it might turn into like a Gyarados or something nutty, so I have to go with it.
Yeah. But I do have to say something that I really wish they would put in the Pokemon games, particularly these, or just release a Pokemon MMO. Now, Pokemon Go is the closest that I've seen them implement a MMO system where now you can fight your Pokemon with other Pokemon.
Okay.
With other people's Pokemon, so to say. But still, it's not what I'm looking for, folks.
No, go for it.
Go on. I'm looking for something that you can customize your Pokemon. Like, say, I want my Pokemon to wear a hat. I'll pay 50 cents to put a stupid hat on my Pokemon. Okay? Like, there's such a market for an MMO of, like, look at all my Pokemon that I have. Let's fight each other. Or, like, putting something on the stakes, like, I'll bet this Pokemon that I can beat you. And then you have to put an equal or higher value in that combat. And see who wins. There's so much that could happen in this. I don't understand why they haven't done it.
I will take your Pokemon RPG with customizable, because I've always wanted a Charizard with a gold chain, like a gold Wu-Tang chain. That's what I want. I would pay money for that. But
now you're going to have issues with people naming their jinxes.
This is part of the problem,
okay, folks?
Is that the internet exists and it's going to get dark real fast.
Yes.
But I will see your Pokemon RPG and raise you a Pokemon Battle Royale. Giant stadium with multiple different landscapes and pools and mountains. 50 Pokemon trainers are dropped in, riding their Pokemon down, and only one team could win.
Okay, I see what you're getting at.
Nope, because that would take forever. Just like BR rules, the stadium is shrinking. It shrinks and it shrinks and it shrinks. And let's say, okay, no, you don't need 3 Pokemon. 2 Pokemon. You have 2 Pokemon with you, and the 2 of you drop in. You can fight one guy's Pokemon, and if you lose, you could run. You could try to run away with your existing Pokemon, or you can just fight him to the death. You know what I'm saying? And only one team could win.
Yeah. Add that to the Pokemmo.
Yeah.
Pokemmo.
Pokemmo. I think you just named the podcast episode. So I thank you. Pokemmo. You over there sipping that buzz beer, man. You probably could see through time at this point. I love it. I made that mistake once. Never. Yeah, man.
I think I might start doing
you're gold right now, man. I can't touch you, man. You're too powerful. You're too strong.
And like I even had a news clipping that I wanted to bring up that I saw last night, but I forgot.
The news never stops. It'll pop up again. Speaking of things that will never pop up again, apparently the PlayStation Vita has finally stopped being produced in Japan and glorious Nippon. Time to go to sleep, Vita fans. Did you ever own a PlayStation Vita, Winter?
No, I was actually talking about that. I did not own a PS Vita today. I owned a PSP, and I would go to the bathroom with my PSP at school at the high school, and I would set up matches for SOCOM Navy SEALs, and then I would go to my desk and start playing them. So go to the bathroom, set up matches with my friends who are in other classes with their PSPs, and then we would just have these.
Dude, we would take our PSPs and trade the battery pack backs because we all had custom PSPs. So my buddy had the Star Wars one with Darth Vader, and I had the red God of War one with the Kratos face. We would swap them out, and we thought we were so cool, but we were such nerds, and nobody cared but us. And it was a big blow up because I would try to show my PSP off to people. No one cared. It was the worst. But I never got into the Vita. I kind of was too old for the Vita, actually. And
yeah. But apparently the Vita is the best, like
yeah,
jailbreak.
you can run PS2
portable
games on that thing.
system
I
there is,
think
apparently.
it's really crazy. You can run like PlayStation games on that. Like the PSP only had so much computing power, so the most jailbreaking you can do on the PSP was like Super Nintendo games, maybe some N64 games. If the Vita could run like
Right.
PS2 games, you can run like God of War 2 on that thing if you wanted to. It's like really cool. But Japan finally closed the door on their handheld market. One thing I did want to talk about before we move on to the next, which kind of deals with PlayStation, are all these whispers and rumors that we're reaching the death of the console era. E3 is right down the road, and there's rumors that there is going to be a discless Xbox coming that's going to be shown at E3 this year. Yeah, and
Yeah, I think we've brought that
I
up
don't know.
before.
It's kind of eerie. Like what they're talking about is that apparently Microsoft in the background has been buying up companies who are maximizing streaming technology to where you will no longer need a console. You just need an internet connection to tap into their stream and stream the game from out of thin air. You won't need a console. You won't even need a disk drive to play, let's say, the Microsoft Pass. You just need like a Fire Stick or something.
Right. Well, that is the company goal. I would say they're trying to take. I would assume that they're trying to take a page from what we have now for movie streaming, where technically you don't own the movie
Correct.
that you're watching. You're only licensing it. And combining that with what you have with Steam, where Steam, you don't own the game that you bought.
Correct.
You're just owning the license to play it on Steam. Yeah, just a little news flash for you there, folks. But what I what are they gonna say? So I think what we brought up before, first of all, is let's talk about the unintended consequences first of a discless Xbox. The dream of like when we were kids of going to the store and buying video games would be out the window. Okay. I mean, it's already out the doors. GameStop knows it. That's why they have more plush toys. They should really have more comic books and turn it more into a geek arena more than it is now. But most of their revenue is used games.
Completely.
That would be out the window. And now you have these consoles where you no longer need the middle party of GameStop, and you have in front of you the Microsoft store. That's the unintended consequence. You're taking away a bit of the geek culture, and you're not replacing it. You're subletting it.
You're subletting
shorter,
the geek culture
the connection.
And to kind of piggyback.
Right. But also, there's also, we've had this technology already. Like I believe Atari is coming out with something where you don't have, it's a discless game console. But the thing that would be, and also Steam has their own. But what I think was really important that you said was not even having the hard drive on there, because I believe there's a company called Shadow Gaming where you pretty much buy this little box, and it's $40 a month, and you're playing games via the cloud. Something that was like that would be science fiction to our parents. And it would be like far off ahead for us, we thought. But again, technology speeds up. The growth of technology speeds up, and it doesn't stay at the same pace. So we have in front of us now pretty much a box that we plug in. You just need steady internet, and you can run these games at
no
max settings, apparently. Right. So the concept of a gaming tower
gone
for PC gaming
non-existent,
is disappearing as well. So then that creates a whole other thing of like unintended consequences of people who are like super, like the whole idea of video cards, the whole thing about buying new parts for your tower. That used to be the definition of what would be a nerd, a computer nerd. That's going to be out the window. You just plug in this box, there's no longer going to be a
It's going to be
PC
a no one.
master race.
It's going to be
a
no
cloud
races
master
because
race.
it's going to
I'll
be
take a breath now.
Microsoft's dream, and what they're sowing is that we want Game Pass on the Switch, right? Play Microsoft games on the Switch, rent them out. We want Game Pass, and they're saying now we want Game Pass on the PlayStation Store, right? They're courting Sony right now. Microsoft is thinking so ahead that they're like, we don't need a console anymore because this streaming technology is so high now where if you have 100 megs up and let's say 20 megs, 100 megs down and 20 megs up, you can run a 4K, new Halo game out of thin air as long as you have a connection. That's where they're kind of off our servers. All you need is a wireless controller and a smart TV and you'll be fine. Consoles, the idea of consoles, the idea of discs, the idea of collecting, it's all fading away. And Sony's so quiet. We don't know what the PS5 is going to be other than backwards compatible. And Nintendo's just Nintendoing. They don't care about the future. They just care about making their games. You know what I mean?
Right. Well, Nintendo has both the nostalgia factor weighing in on why they don't have to worry about this, as well as they're killing it right now, crushing it.
Yeah.
So, all right.
The Switch is amazing, dude. It is making them so much money.
Because you have a portable game system beating out Xbox and PlayStation.
Yep.
Yeah.
Effortlessly.
Yeah. Could you imagine as a kid, like the PSP selling so much that your Xbox sells more than your Xbox or your Xbox 360? I don't know.
And the thing about the Switch, which makes it so brilliant, it's that it's not just a handheld. It's not just a console. It's a handheld. So you're catering to both parties. I know some people who Switch never leaves their house.
And isn't that
never
amazing,
leaves the dock.
by the way? Because if we go through the history of handheld games, how many devices have they made where, if you just hook this up to your Game Boy, you can play it on the TV screen?
Nintendo started that.
There's also Sega. I can't remember.
Sega. Yeah. The Sega Nomad did that. The Game Gear did that. Even the PSP had PlayStation TV, where you could just plug it into something else.
And Nintendo figured out the secret sauce of getting it to where you saw that before. You guys didn't respond well to it, but now we're going to have it as a selling point again. And they altered the code they altered the selling point just right in a Steve Jobs sort of way. And they took a bunch of mushrooms and they figured it out.
It's like, okay, person who doesn't leave their house, have a Switch. You can play all your favorite games on your big screen TV at 720. Right. You know what I'm saying? Oh, hey, person that's traveling all over the world or wants to take their Switch to school or to wherever. Mm-hmm. Take it and pick up right where you left off. Plug it back in your TV. There's not a disconnect. And the technology never allowed for that seamless transition.
Right.
You had Mario on the GameCube. You had Mario on your DS, right? And there's always that disconnect. But now they've created a system where it's a seamless transition from console to home and back and forth over and over and over again. And people are just eating it up because it's so convenient. It's so smart. And Microsoft is taking that one step further and saying you don't need anything.
So
to stream.
So this is the next. So if I'm searching for unintended consequences, we can say that removing the middleman is one. GameStop's future is questionable at best.
Done.
Most likely they're going to merge with somebody, but there's a ton of debt that whatever company buys them would have to take on that debt as well. There's the unintended consequences would be the installing gatekeepers. And what I mean by that, folks, is say there's a game that would be considered controversial and say, it's not too far off to go that companies get scared that this will ruin their reputation if they have it on their system. Sometimes they do. So how hard would it to be going, hey, we're the gatekeepers. If we say that we don't want this game, it's not going to hurt our business to a meaningful effect. So this could quite possibly be like a removal of more indie titles. That could be. I'm scared of that. But then the opposite could be true. I mean, PlayStation is releasing a dream program really that creates video games inside the game. So it's again, I don't want to put on rose-colored glasses for this particular thing, but it is interesting that we're moving a lot farther away from doing this is a tangible thing that I have in my hand. I put it in, it plays. Boom, I'm playing a video game. To now we're going, I just hit a button on my TV with my wireless controller and I'm playing a game on this TV here.
It's a trade.
Yeah.
You're trading off ownership for convenience.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And it's a blind trade because people aren't going to see it till it's too late. Right. Like you were mentioning, unforeseen consequences. The unforeseen consequence of this transition is the brick and mortar is dead, right?
Right.
It's
well, I don't want to say dead, but they would have to alter. GameStop would have to remove. They would neither be a game nor a stop for people to buy games at. They would never be. They wouldn't be considered that, but they would be considered. Niche. Yeah, they'd be considered. Hey, we have PlayStation 1s here. We have Xbox 360s. We also sell comic books. We are also a place that They should be a place that releases content. They're going to turn into like a chain of comic book stores.
But that's not future proofing because how many millennials do you? I mean, it's. I'm just saying, how many millennials do you think have a VHS player in their house?
That's or 8-track? True. But it goes through a retro phase. I mean, I thought VHS was dead, but there's still people that grab them. There's still people that grab them.
That's a small majority for the mass audience.
That's correct.
It's not going to – those niche people who still want to buy God of War 20 on a disc aren't going to be the mass majority who just wants to stream it into their house because that's the new norm.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, this is a scary situation. It's not scary. It's just – change is scary, right? And the industry is going on a seismic shift of priority because games are getting more expensive to make, right? And the $60 price tag on a game hasn't changed in like 10 years. And it hasn't suffered inflation, but what we have gotten is microtransactions and loot boxes to kind of supplement that lack of adjustment. But if it's a service, then they can charge. Would you pay $300 a year for a PlayStation service and be able to play any PlayStation game you want ever? Like an Amazon subscription? Here's the Nintendo subscription. Pay $500 a year. And you get to play any game that comes out for Nintendo for that year. Stream it right to your TV. Buy the controller.
Right. So this is
terrifying.
Yeah, terrifying. Because
none of it's yours.
This is making me right. It's making me predict that in probably 10 years or more, probably more. There's going to be a huge push, a lot more than there is now, for internet to be considered a utility, and that opens up a door for. So many things that so many things to happen that we can find unintended consequences on a different episode. But I did find the article that I wanted to talk about, by the way.
Okay,
so
go for it. Let's close it out with that.
Yeah, as many of you know, the Oscars happened recently, and there's a director that's making some waves with a comment that he made, where he is connected. I believe he is a member, if not like on the directing board of the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences, and he's trying to prevent Netflix from winning future awards at
about that
Oscars. Yes.
Yeah.
Essentially doing the essentially doing the argument that Netflix, he says, once you commit to a television format, you're a TV movie. It doesn't quite make sense to me, but I'm thinking the logic is that since they are dedicating so much on television, therefore they deserve an Emmy, but not an Oscar. I don't believe films are just, according to his words, I don't believe films are just given token qualifications in a couple of theaters for less than a week should qualify for Academy Award nominations. So what he's talking about there is that in order for, I believe, if I remember correctly, if you're part of the Academy Awards, please let me know. If in order to be nominated for the Academy Award, you need to have a theatrical run.
Right.
And so what will happen is these Netflix movies will pick some like random theaters or probably mostly Hollywood and go like, we're going to show the Ballad of Buster Scruggs in here.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
That will count as their
theatrical
wide
release.
Yeah, wide theatrical release. Therefore, they can be qualified for their Academy Award.
Yep.
And then he talks more about filmmakers, about all the other stuff. There's also Netflix and I think it was the Sundance or the Cannes Film Festival where Netflix decided to not participate due to them banning a lot of Netflix movies.
Mm-hmm. I believe it.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think what we can all agree on is that the Academy needs to come up with clear guidelines for the 2019 for like where we are currently, which is no longer do films need a theatrical release in order to be qualified for consideration for the Academy Awards.
And my opinion on that is that the Academy Awards needs to come into the times.
Right.
You know what I mean? And this kind of really very well segues into our video game conversation we just had. That this change is coming. Netflix is more than sufficient to have films that deserve Academy Award consideration. Like you said, like what would it take? Does Bird Box need to be at the local Galleria for it to be considered for Oscar? Acceptance. Does it have to be in a film? Does it have to be in a movie theater for it to be considered a film? There's plenty of films. There's plenty of short films that win Oscars that I've never seen on a matinee billboard ever. You know what I mean? Like if we're gonna pretend keep the facade that the Academy Awards, the Oscars are about the art of the film itself and not anything else. Right.
Then you need to be clear about the guidelines and either say these awards are just for films that are in theaters or have met theatrical release, or they're films of all sorts, which include Netflix, streaming services, Hulu, all that other stuff, and theatrical releases. I would say including Netflix, including streaming as well as movie theaters, is the way that you want to go if you want to keep up the appearance of this is about art. Go on.
But when has the Oscars ever played by the rules, by their own rules?
Not this year. Green Book winning. What?
No other nominations, no other wins. When has the Oscars ever been?
Not Black Klansman. Okay.
Right. Not Black Panther. When has the Oscars ever been fair? You know what I'm saying? Then there you go, because you're talking about an art form, which people are able to go, this is good, this is bad. Correct.
So therefore, what determines it being fair?
Right. And the Oscars, it's pretty much, if you want to really boil it down elementary, it's that they don't want to play with Netflix. They don't consider Netflix on their level, even though Netflix probably makes more than the box office does multiple times over a year. But they don't consider Netflix art. They consider it TV series. And it's the most silly thing in the history of the world, because what do you think Marvel movies are? It's serialized films. It's a soap opera. It might as well be WWE. You know what I mean? Like it's a story being told over multiple series or episodes, for that matter. So the Academy Awards guys and people who think that way are just afraid of change. It's what it is. They don't want Netflix muddying the waters because they feel it's not fair. And maybe, and do we have film segregation? Do we have the Netflix awards? Would that be weird?
Right.
No?
Well, I think the strong possibility would be, because this is, I think, how just the way of the beast would be, if Academy Awards stuck to their guns going, or like Spielberg got his way of going, and must have a theatrical release, then Netflix would still play the game of like, okay, we'll just release it as theatrical releases and we'll still beat you, sort of thing.
Yeah.
And then it will then, or that could be actually where they are now. And then Spielberg will go, well, now it needs to be officially only a theatrical release for like 6 or 7 months, and then it become Netflix. And then that will lead a whole train of people going, well, we need a new Academy, we need a new award show.
And you see how they're just going to keep pushing the goalposts until they get the answer they want.
And it will be called the Duck Duck Goose Award show, where you get a golden duck, and Netflix always gets the golden.
But then
egg.
there's weird paradoxes, like the movie Annihilation with Natalie Portman, right? Beautiful science fiction film, one of the best movies of last year. It premiered in film. It premiered in theaters in the US, right? But it was a Netflix exclusive in the UK, in the rest of the world. So where does that fall?
Well, it could be for best foreign film.
Damn, that's a good one. I can't beat that. This American-made film with American-made actors is best foreign film because it was on Netflix in like England, and because they didn't know what to do with it. Isn't that crazy? Isn't it just crazy logic?
It is.
Like a film's a film, but no, the film has to come out where we could control it, right? We have to control it for it to be part of our group and for us to celebrate its worth or lack thereof. Get out of here. But that's old money tech. That's old money tech. That's old money logic. You know what I mean? They're not ready for the new money. Long live the new flesh. You know what I'm saying?
Yep. Well, I am now spent. I've said my piece. I'm going to take a sip of my vodka and Red Bull. Copyright. And please sponsor us, Red Bull. And let's call it an evening. What are you looking forward to? I'm looking forward to the possibility of playing bingo with the parents.
Yeah.
If that doesn't happen, then, keep up with the writing. I'm in the process of editing the 3rd chapter of this wink wink MOTN project.
The project.
Yes. And hopefully hear more about that. I should be working on that.
Same here. Working on said project on my end. I have a lot of artwork to do across multiple MOTN multiple MOTN ventures that I'm just trying to balance out and just make sure that it's all given the proper attention, as it were. I'm really bad at that, so I'm trying to get better at that. It's a nerdy week coming up because we're both getting Captain Marvel and Devil May Cry 5 are coming out the same day. So I'm really excited for both of those bits of entertainment. And I plan on gushing about them one way or another, probably by the next show. So you'll hear from me on that. And like I mentioned earlier in the show, I am just still excited to be a part of the MOTN Plays Dungeons & Dragons, which will be airing on this channel. I would say if not coming soon. I don't want to date this episode, but coming very soon. Just finishing up the finishing touches on editing those episodes, so you guys can be part of our campaign and meet the rest of the D&D crew, which is a bunch of really cool guys. So I'm really excited for that, and that's about it. You have any closing thoughts? Do you have any thoughts before we close this bad boy out?
Yeah, just check me out at Trashbunk the Third, Trashbunk III on the social media. I've thought about revamping and getting a website back up and running, but I truly believe websites don't particularly help a lot of people now to get the word out. It's mostly social media nowadays, folks. That's just the way things go. So just keep working on that, trying to hit 500 followers before summer.
Get on.
And I have about 100 days. I mean, until school's out for the school year, and that would be 100 days. So
if you haven't followed Winter,
250.
what are you doing? Follow him. This guy's brilliant. Follow Winter at Trash Muck III. You know what I'm saying? Do it. Do it. Also, you can definitely follow this channel's Twitter page, which is at mnerdiverse, where we will be doing a poll probably tomorrow because we're going to be reviewing a Studio Ghibli film, and I'm going to let you guys decide which one. So I'm going to be doing a poll on that tomorrow, and you get to pick from our 4 options, which will be on the MOTN Twitter page. So please follow that, like our stuff, and ask us questions. We will not tell you lies. And you can also like us and leave a comment, please, on iTunes, Apple Podcast Store. We need more reviews. We need more suggestions. We need more comments. And also follow us on YouTube. And funny enough, one of our YouTube followers says they're working on some fan art for us. So I'm very interested to see how that looks. Our first bit of fan art winner. I'm kind of really excited about that.
Who is it?
I don't want to. It's the person's real life name, so I don't want to.
Is this the comedian?
No, it's not the comedian. Okay. But it's someone else, and I don't want to dox them. So, I'll get permission from them if they would like me to name drop them on the show. And if you're listening, I'm just gonna wave and go hi. So that's very exciting for me. My dream is to getting fan art from someone else other than myself. So someone else drawing for MOTN is just a dream come true. But on that note, I have, of course, been your host, Mike G.
And I've been your host with the most, Winter.
And we will always ask you to take that one step beyond.